I'm excited and a little bit nervous because this is the first time I am doing an interview for Rising Tide, but I'm excited. So I am Gamer Mom Luna. For those of you who don't know me, I am interviewing, like I said, for the first time for Rising Tide's RT Talks podcast. And we are here with Kage, who works with One Bookshelf, which is part of like DrivethruRPG and DM's Guild and Roll20. So why don't you tell us a little about who you are and what you do with One Bookshelf?
Yeah, hi all. I'm Kage. I use she, hers pronouns, and at night I am a freelance ttrpg layout designer and writer and Twitch streamer, and by day I am a community manager. I'm the community relations rep for DrivethruRPG, which kind of is a large conglomerate of different things, as some of you might know. And I'm also the community manager for Storytelling Collective. Specifically with DrivethruRPG, about half of my work is basically community management within the Discord server. If any of y'all are on the DrivethruRPG Discord server, you've definitely seen me there. And otherwise, I do a lot of basically troubleshooting with publishers. They email us if they ever run into any issues or need anything worked on with their accounts or with their products.
Awesome. So that probably alone keeps you pretty busy.
Yes. I'm not the only one that does it.
So you mentioned kind of a little about what One Bookshelf is and all the different pieces of it that are connected. But for people who may not be familiar, could you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, and I think it's like a particularly good question because it is kind of morphing. So I started with the company back in April of last year. And at the time we were using the One Bookshelf language to kind of talk about the overarching, I'm like using a can movement. It's like y'all can see me, but sort of like the hierarchy was like One Bookshelf was kind of the umbrella over DrivethruRPG, DrivethruFiction, DrivethruComics, DrivethruCards, Wargame Vault, and all of our community content programs like DM's Guild, Pathfinder Infinite, Storytellers Vault, stuff like that. And then in October, we entered a joint partnership with Roll20. And so Roll20 now is sort of like the umbrella organization, I guess you could say. And underneath there, we've got like the Roll20 VTT and Marketplace. And then our other sites are basically going to be discussed as like DrivethruRPG, which is powered by Roll20 kind of thing. So the One Bookshelf name, it still exists in a lot of different places, but you will start to see that fade away a little bit. But if you do hear us talk about One Bookshelf or OBS, we're referring to sort of like the umbrella that was over these different marketplaces. And it is a little tricky right now. We're also like internally still trying to figure out how all the wording and stuff, our branding and marketing team are working very hard on getting some of that stuff ironed out a little bit more so that way it's clear what we're talking about when we talk about stuff. But yeah, so we've got a lot of different areas that kind of fall underneath our organization.
Yeah, rebranding anything can be such a nightmare, trying to be like, no, I swear we're the same company.
Yeah. We're like, prepping for convention season and we're like, what are our business cards going to say?
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you all are familiar and in conversations with us, you've probably seen our email addresses change over from One Bookshelf to roll20.net. And I assume at some point coming up here this year, we'll see some changes in the Discord server too, as the Discord server isn't just DrivethruRPG, but we also have our community content programs in there, and people are Wargame Vault or DrivethruFiction or DrivethruCards publishers, and we also have a section in there now for Roll20 sellers and publishers. So it's a big mix.
Awesome. It's a lot on your plate, I'm sure, and that's really exciting information and news, and that'll be fun to see it all evolve. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of people out there who use Roll20 for both for their games, for playing, and then also for selling material on there. Mm-hmm. Will there ever be a way to connect any of the materials that are available through like DrivethruRPG or anything like that to like Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Shard, anything like that?
Yeah. So there actually are some of those connections already. So for instance, prior to the launch tomorrow that's happening, so tomorrow we're launching our supported marketplaces with DM's Guild and Pathfinder Infinite, where if somebody can go onto one of those sites, and if a creator is selling a like Roll20 module, basically, they can purchase it on DM's Guild, and then it's already set up for them in Roll20. prior to that launch tomorrow, Fantasy Grounds has actually been around for longer than I've been working at this company. So you can go onto DM's Guild right now and you can search Fantasy Ground titles, and you can get modules that are being sold on DM's Guild that have Fantasy Ground conversions. So that exists already. Same thing with Foundry. You can go on DrivethruRPG and you can filter for Foundry integration type stuff, basically. And I believe with that one, it's set up more like what the Roll20 one is, where you can type in, I believe it's like your email address, and then it gets attached to your Foundry account. And as far as any other VTTs, that's it's basically that company has to kind of reach out to us and want to be involved in that type of partnership. So I can't really say whether or not other places like Shard or whatever will ever have integrations like what we're doing with Roll20, but it's really up to that tabletop company. As you can probably imagine, some places probably don't want to partner now that we're in that joint partnership with Roll20, just because Roll20 advertising is going to be all over our website, obviously. So it might not make sense for them as a business pursuit, but I can't say that it won't ever happen, because it could, but we do already provide Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, and now Roll20 stuff.
Great. All right. Along with people being able to sell stuff through DrivethruRPG on like for Roll20 and Foundry and Fantasy Grounds, what are some of the other types of products that you've seen people sell through DrivethruRPG, and what are some of the ways you've seen people get that into the hands of the buyers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a multi-point response, right? So the different types of products, I mean, we see so many different things. Even if you're just talking digital PDFs, I mean, you've got adventures, you got setting supplements, you've got campaigns and core rule books and all sorts of different things. In terms of formats, I mean, we do see, I think digital PDF is probably our most popular format or our most common format, but there's some people where their entire publisher catalog are STL files for 3D minis, or they do only audio files and it's meant for like soundtracks for your game, or they do maps or stock art or print on demand, or they do cards. We have an entire section for drive-through cards where you can do like tarot or playing or mini size cards. We also have map tiles through that as well. So there's a lot of different options in terms of that. Yeah, so there's a lot of different areas within that. And then I think another piece of that too is folks use this a lot for crowdfunding. So you can, like if you're on Kickstarter or Crowdfunder or whatever crowdfunding platform you want to use, basically you can just download your backer file and you upload this CSV file into the background of our website, and you create like a group of all those people, and then you can send them like complimentary copies of whatever your work is. If it's like something that's print on demand, you can choose whether you pay as a publisher the printing and shipping costs or if the customer does. So that will really depend on what you've already charged them for, of course. Like if you're doing like a Kickstarter thing and you're charging them the shipping costs already on there, and like you're not going to charge them a second time. And Dom, to your question on here, are there any plans to improve the DTRPG product upload backend? Yes. So one of like the really big tech projects that's happening right now and using up a lot of resources, especially on like the drive-through marketplaces and the sister sites like there, is we are completely redoing the entire website. So the file uploader is definitely a part of that. And you can already preview it mostly on customer facing stuff. So if you just go to preview.drivethrurpg.com, you can see what that looks like from the customer end, and a lot of different features are already in there. The publisher side will be coming next, but it'll be a little while before that stuff will be kind of loaded out. I know that there was a recent, I believe it was one of our blog posts that had it in it, which you can access through our Discord server. I know it was linked there, but there are some screenshots of like what the publisher dashboard mockups are looking like right now. The entire website is getting an overhaul. And so the uploader will definitely be a part of that.
Awesome. I know that will be exciting for people that are, have struggled in the past. I know there's a lot of publishers that are in this Discord server, so that'll be exciting for them.
Yeah. And I know another really big question too is there is a difference between the drive-through publisher and the community content creator tools. And I know that our product team is very aware that the community content folks would like more of those tools available to them. So that's definitely something that's on the docket as well. We can't guarantee that all the tools will be like one for one ported over, because the difference between that mostly is that as a community content creator, you're not the publisher. Whoever is providing the IP is the publisher. So there are some tools that it's a little harder to like gate people behind, because as a publisher, they don't want people to have access to all of their records, right?
Right.
So like there's some things that will be a little bit harder, I think, to transform over, but we are hoping to provide some more similar tools between the two.
Awesome. And that was great because you answered the follow-up question that was just kind of percolating for me as you were talking. So perfect. So one of the things that I noticed you have going on the DriveThru site right now is the We Love Games sale.
Mm-hmm.
And so how would publishers, creators take advantage of participating in a sale like that? And if they do participate, how does it benefit them?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that you'll want to make sure that you do. So one of the major things is, this is both for publishers and for community content creators. Underneath like your promotions section of your publisher hub or your account page, there's going to be a selection of allowing your products to be a part of site-wide sales. So there's usually like the option of, for publishers, it's like, don't include mine. And I forget the percentages, but it's like you can include them up to, I think it's like 40% and then like 60% or 80% off or something like that. So depending on the sale, you're going to have that selected that you're okay for your products to be part of a site-wide sale. I believe it defaults to making sure that your products are also at least 30 days old. You can change that, but we encourage you not to make it less than that, because you're going to probably lose out on some funding if you put a brand new product into a sale where we're deeply discounting it. Because that first month is when you're going to see the most, of those organic sales right away anyway. Mm-hmm. So you're just giving people at 40+% off, right? So we don't encourage you to lower it, but you do have the option to do that if there's some reason why you want to do that. And then most of the sales are usually based on some sort of filter or one of like the check marks on there. So like, I know when we had the Halloween sale, we mentioned that you need to make sure that you have like the horror filter checked. Mm-hmm. And so we'll take a look at some of those products. My area is not necessarily the sales in particular, so I don't know if like 100% of titles that meet that criteria are put into sales, but that is how you would ensure that you'd be in the running for being in the sales, is making sure that you have it checked that you want to be a part of site-wide sales, and then having the correct filter based on what the sale is. And then also on DrivethruRPG, publishers have access to the publisher knowledge base. And one of the articles in there, I think you can just search sales. There is a listing, it's in the promotions section, of what some of our annual sales are. We don't tend to give like the specific dates, but they happen every year. So you can kind of make a guess as to when they're going to happen. So like, for example, we usually do a Halloween sale, or like there's usually a like Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. There's a couple different things that are listed in there. And so you can kind of get an idea of what kinds of things that we do tend to do site-wide sales for.
Sure. And do you notice that, like content creators, if they're listed in the sale, are people able to like find them just by browsing and, maybe get some highlight that way?
Yeah, if you're a part of the sale, when the sale is happening, the banners that go across the top announcing the sale will go to a sale page. And then there's also usually in that left nav column, the very top will usually have like something like pulled to the side that says like specifically that sale name, so you can browse through that sale. And if you're on a product and you're wondering why it's on sale, usually there's like at the very top in like all red, it'll be like, this product is a part of the whatever sale, enjoy up to whatever % off. And so that's how you'll know like why a product is on sale. Mm-hmm. And publishers can also make their own sales. They can manage their own sales within their products. So like if, for instance, you have a category that you want to put on sale. So maybe you have an RPG line and it's anniversary of being published. You can go into your publisher account and go to the manage sales tools and pick that category line and indicate what dates you want that sale to happen and what % off or however you want to make that sale go. And then there's like a page of all of like the sales that are currently happening. So it'll show up there as well.
Awesome. So it sounds like, if somebody wanted to sort of maybe get their name out there a little more rather than somebody having to go and search for them. If they participate in some of these sales, somebody might have a better chance of stumbling upon their product.
Right. Yeah.
Great. That's exciting. Now, going to kind of a little about the different types of things that you see published from, the community and from publishers. Have you seen any advantages or disadvantages to publishing things like settings or characters that are system agnostic versus things that stick to one system?
Yeah, and that can really depend greatly on who the publisher or creator is. Like if you're brand new versus an established publisher or creator, that there might be a difference within that. For new folks, sometimes publishing underneath an established setting can be better because people might already be searching for that setting. If I just decide today that I'm going to make the Kage RPG and put it on DTRPG, I'm going to have, stuff popping up on the front page or, whatever marketing that I do. And I can let people know that it exists out there. But because it's a brand new system, there won't be a specified rules system filter for it. So people won't be able to just be like, I want to find only stuff that's under the Kage RPG. So there's less ways that people could browse across that. But once your publisher name, is something that people recognize, they might be able to stumble then upon whatever your specific or system agnostic type of RPG stuff is. So there's definitely some pros and cons to some of that stuff too. Sometimes people just like to discover new stuff. So being able to do a system agnostic piece, people might be able to then equip that to whatever they're already running, etc. So yeah, I hate to say it depends because I feel like that's such a cop-out answer, but it can really depend. But I think for new folks, sometimes it can be easier to get your stuff out there if it's based off of something that already exists by using a CC license or some other type of open license. Or honestly, I feel like a lot of people get started using the CCPs, the community content programs like DM's Guild and Pathfinder Infinite. And then once they feel like they've kind of got their sea legs on that, they kind of expand and create their own publishing account. But maybe I'm projecting because I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing. But yeah, it really does depend.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
And I see too, Dom has a question here, whether we've noticed the difference in popularity between exclusive products and non-exclusive products on the platform and what the difference between the two might be. I don't know that I specifically have data on that. I would have to go back and probably look. But one of the things with exclusive products is that your title actually kind of hits the front page twice. So if you've ever seen the DrivethruRPG front page, there is a banner specifically for exclusive products. So I am an exclusive publisher. So I publish my own stuff on DrivethruRPG. If I put something out there, then I'll be on the newest on DrivethruRPG banner. And then I think it's I forget the specific time period, but it's around a week or so later, people who have published something new that's also an exclusive publisher, there's another banner that will then filter through. So basically, I get twice the front page coverage if I'm an exclusive publisher. So that is definitely something that's really helpful. But if you already have an audience in other marketplaces, to be non-exclusive, that might be more helpful for you than to have being twice on our front page, right? So again, it really probably depends on what you're doing and where people can find your works. And so that's something just to, I think, keep note of, is just knowing your audience. I think that's just important in general, whether it's that last question that you asked about, what kind of, is it system agnostic or whatever? If you have an idea of who your audience is, then that might answer that question a little bit better than I can. And for those of you just starting out, you should build stuff for the audience that you want to build. If I decided at the very beginning that I wanted to build stuff that was based around fruit, I don't know, I could build an audience of people who are interested in that kind of thing by putting that type of stuff out. And so I think that's just kind of important. We do have a lot of people ask us what kind of products should I make? And it's well, what kind of products do you want to make? Because if you build your audience for it, people are interested in all sorts of things. And so I think that's kind of an important thing. Don't be building stuff you don't love, because you will never, those products will be so hard to finish. And
right.
Especially when you're newer, you might not make back the money that you put into your first product. So enjoy it, enjoy the process, and enjoy what you're making, because that's going to make it a lot more fun to do.
Yeah, definitely. You kind of hit on the thought that I was having too about, making content that you enjoy making, because you're going to have an easier time marketing it to people if you love it.
Yeah. I mean, the first product I made was for the DMs Guild through the Write Your First Adventure workshop. At the time, it was called the RPG Writer Workshop. And I made like a drunken obstacle course, and like it is to the T my brand. and like I just had so much fun putting it together, and I also have so much fun running it. It's my most run module that I've ever done, and I think it really, that also has helped my marketing, right? Like if I run it for people, then they're like, wow, that was fun, I should go run that for other people, and I should go get that, right? And if it's something I hated doing, I'm not going to want to run that for dozens of groups. So by enjoying it and by wanting to run it myself, I'm marketing it every time I run it.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. Do you find in the course of trying to decide whether or not, somebody who's putting content up on your site, do you find that maybe PDFs sell more than print on demand? Is there a size difference? Like if this PDF is only 32 pages versus a PDF that's 300 pages, does the 32 page one sell better than the 300 page one?
Yeah.
Is there a way to help like creators decide how they should market their materials?
So digital PDFs are probably by and large our most popular offering for sales, but is also like the most common offering you'll find, right? So I think that the print on demand is probably about like somewhere in like the 10 to 15% of our sales range. So it's not nothing, right? Like there's a lot of people that are buying physical copies of stuff. People really enjoy having the books on their shelves. I have a shelf full of TTRPG books behind me. And so it's not nothing, right? As far as like what books maybe sell best as print on demand, I'd say that those are usually like your core rule books, like player handbooks or GM kind of guides or setting guides kind of things, and like player options. So like those I think are probably your most common ones that you're going to find people buying, like especially if it's like a new system or whatever, like having those core books available as print on demand can be really helpful for folks. But something to keep in mind is that the more pages it is, the more expensive it's going to be. If it's in color, it's going to be more expensive. If you want premium color, that's going to even add up even more. So we do have a print cost calculator. So if you are thinking about making a print on demand title, you can put in whether you want it, hardcover, softcover, black and white, standard or premium color, and then however many pages it is, as well as the trim size. So like whether your book is going to be 8.5 by 11 or, whatever other size you want to do, it'll help you calculate what that cost is for printing. And then you have to think about what do you want your margin to be on that, right? So you're only making royalties on the margin of print on demand books. So all of that print and shipping cost goes right to the printer, and you're only making whatever that difference is. So if a book costs $25 to print and you want to make, at least like $5 a book, then it's $30 to the customer. So you have to think, is my book, however big as it is, do you think it's going to be worth $30 to a customer?
Right.
Chances are it probably will be. But if it's like a $70 book, I think people are less likely to purchase stuff if it's not substantial.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you find like if somebody was to offer a smaller PDF versus one that was, maybe they weren't in a position to go through the formatting for a print on demand book, for example, and they wanted to just offer up a PDF, do you find that the longer PDFs, the ones that are breaking, 50, 100 pages, do they sell as well as some of the shorter ones, or should people try to stick to a shorter PDF?
Again, I think that's really going to depend on who you are as a publisher and what kind of content people are going to be looking for. What I would suggest is if you are doing a larger PDF like that, make sure that it has the accessibility stuff on it. Make sure it has bookmarks and a table of contents that's maybe linked. If you think it makes sense to have like an index that's also linked, like make it easy for people to navigate a large PDF.
Mhm.
If they have to control F a creature name in order to figure out where it comes up in the thing, that might be really difficult, right? So just making sure that you have some of that. I mean, you should be making accessible PDFs anyway, but that's especially for those larger files, making it so that way people can navigate it easier is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And yeah, the bookmarking piece, you bring up a good point, because that's a conversation that I have had several times in the past of, I personally am a printed book person. And part of that is just because I comprehend the material better with a printed book. But also, I'm a lot faster at finding the information by flipping to the index and then flipping to the page
Right.
than I am at having to search something that's not hyperlinked.
Right. Yeah. And if you are interested in doing smaller things, so like maybe you are working on a series of adventures and maybe it doesn't make sense to have it be a large product, but you still want people to be able to buy them all together. We also have a bundling feature on the site. So you just individually upload all of your titles and then you can create a bundle of all of them. And one thing that's really cool about the bundles too is we call it like complete your bundle tool. And essentially, if you're selling 4 adventures and I've already bought one, I can go to the bundle and it'll reduce the bundle price by the price of that adventure.
Okay.
So I don't have to buy that adventure twice. I can just buy the other 3 for the remaining of what that bundle price is. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
But something to keep in mind is if there's a print on demand title in a bundle, you will have to individually buy that print on demand title every time. I think a really good example of that is actually the Uncaged series on the DM's Guild.
Mm-hmm.
They have volumes 1 through 4 plus goddesses. And so you'll see that there is a digital bundle and a POD bundle. And so people can buy all of the books at once if they'd like to. And I believe that there's a discount if you do so.
Yeah.
But if you also bought like the first few volumes of Uncaged and you just want the other one at the bundle price, you can buy the digital without having to buy all of the books as well.
Okay, so it sounds like there's kind of like a prorating feature.
Yeah, essentially that. And we encourage people to, when they make bundles, to do a little bit of a price cut because people like to obviously get discounts. And that's also like a good marketing thing too. Sometimes if you feel like your products have kind of stagnated and you have stuff that could go to a no bundle together, we definitely encourage you to bundle that, and it'll kind of make your product, like, I don't want to say like relevant again, but it'll kind of bring it up in some of the front page and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, I've gone back and I've completed bundles multiple times. I'm on DM's Guild a lot as a creator and as a customer. So like the one that comes to my brain is Anne Gregerson's got some really great huge bundles. Like the Monster Loot series is very extensive and you get a really good deal if you go in and get that bundle. And the thing too is that Anne has updated it whenever like a new book has come out and is making that companion piece. So I definitely have gone in multiple times, and like as new ones were added to the bundle, I rebought the bundle and then I only was buying the price of the new stuff that I didn't already have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Backtracking just a little bit, but we sort of talked about things being available on Roll20 and Drive-Thru and that sort of thing. If people have published something that's already available on Drive-Thru, how can they then go and make it available on Roll20? Or is that possible?
So if they've bought something on DrivethruRPG and they want it available on Roll20, so like for example for tomorrow with the supported marketplace stuff that's happening with DM's Guild and Pathfinder Infinite, those are going to be new titles. So there are some technical things related to that. Okay. So like, for example, I'm actually working on a VTT conversion of Brewski Jubilee, which is that drunken obstacle course one I mentioned earlier. I don't have it done yet, so it won't be out tomorrow. But usually with digital products, if you add new stuff to the title, anybody who's already purchased it, they'll gain access to that. So like one thing that I want to do is I've had a friend make a map that is high res and can be printed for in-person play. And I also have commissioned a friend to make VTT tokens even before I was starting to do the conversion. And so my plan is to update those into that DM's Guild file, the title, and my customers will get that. Mm-hmm. But with the Roll20 conversion, that gets added on at checkout. And so because when you go to checkout, that's when you're typing in your Roll20 email address. And so if I just add that conversion, the the UUID is what it's called. It's like what connects it to it on the Roll20 marketplace. If I just add that, they won't get access to that because they're not checking out with that product again.
Mhm.
And so what we've been encouraging people to do who are releasing products this week is to create a new title. And this is very similar to how you'll see Fantasy Ground modules on DM's Guild too, is you'll see a PDF title and then you'll see a Fantasy Grounds title. So same thing with these ones. We're encouraging people to create a new Roll20 VTT title, and then somebody will have to go and buy that. Currently, we don't have that same integration for DrivethruRPG and Roll20, but we do hope to release some more information on that soon. So if you have something on DriveThru and you want it to be on Roll20, at this point in time, you'll have to build it out yourself. Unless if that person is already selling that module on Roll20, then you could purchase it over there. But hopefully soon we'll have it where the integration is the same as what you see in the supported marketplaces, where the creator can publish that on DrivethruRPG at checkout. You'll put your email address in and it'll be built for you already on Roll20 because the publisher has already done that groundwork for you.
Right. So basically stay tuned.
Yeah. Currently you can drag PDFs into there, but it's mostly just like so that way you can have everything all in one place. It's not going to build out your maps and stuff for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Got it. Okay. So this question, you may or may not be able to speak to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Do you foresee the potential for issues with the release of 1D&D and sales on the DM's Guild?
Yeah. So, I mean, with that, we assume it's just going to be business as usual. As far as we know right now, as we sit, the DM's Guild will be unaffected by the release of 1D&D and things will just kind of proceed as normal. Okay. So unfortunately, I don't have anything else that I can really say on that.
No, that's fine.
But we haven't gotten like a shutdown notice or anything like that. Like as far as we know at this point in time.
All right.
Yeah. We'll just be continuing on.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of those ones that I'm like, I'm going to throw it in there and just see if there's anything that they're saying about it yet. So
yeah,
figured it was worth the ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you think might be helpful for people to know?
I know one of the other questions too that Dom had mentioned to me is if there's a cost difference for publishers between releasing a PDF versus a print on demand book.
Yes.
And there is a little bit. Yeah. So every single time that you upload files for a print on demand, in order to make it public, you have to order a proof yourself. So you're paying the printing and shipping costs. So if I'm creating a product, it's free for me to put a digital PDF out and sell it, right? I just upload the files and people buy it and I get royalties off of it. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to create a print on demand version of that, I guess there's also some like production costs in that if you don't already have access or skills to create the layout. The specifications for a print on demand PDF, like the PDFs that you have to create for print on demand, there are some very specific things that you have to have within that title or within that file. And so there may be some costs associated with that if that's not something you can do yourself. Mm-hmm. But you also will have to pay for that proof and have it shipped to you so that way you can view it in person before you activate it for sale.
Right.
And if you ever make changes to that down the road, you will have to order a new proof before you can activate it for sale again. So there are some pieces with that, but like if you're doing a black and white soft cover book, like the book might only cost like a few bucks and then maybe like the same for shipping if it's like a smaller book. So like that might be worth it to you if you think you can recover those costs.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I see there's a couple of questions in the chat too.
Yep. I was just going to get to those. So we're right on the same page. Yeah, it looks like one of the questions, I work with the Natural Crit Home Brewery development team, as loosely organized as a team as it is. We occasionally get the question, what do I need to do to sell this brew? And I'm wondering if you have any insight on that.
So I'm not super familiar with home brewery and GM Binder because I do a lot of my own. I'm a layout designer by trade, so I do a lot of my stuff in InDesign. But like if you can take a homebrew thing and export it as a PDF, you can sell that. You just need to make sure that you have your licenses correct, right? So if it's something that includes Wizards of the Coast IP, for example, that's not included in the SRD, you'll probably have to publish it on the DM's Guild. If it includes things that aren't a part of 5th edition, like Greyhawk, then you're not going to be able to sell that. So you would have to make changes to your products in order to make sure that it aligns with the licenses that are available to you to use. But if if all it takes is to slap your CC license or OGL or what have you onto there and just export it as a PDF, you can create something. You just need to make the free account with us and away you go. And we're also always happy to answer questions as well. So if you're selling as a content creator through one of our community content programs, you'll be kind of like assigned a rep based on that. So like for the DM skill, it's just dmskilled@roll20.net. You can email that email for any questions you have on the DM skill. And if you're a new publisher, you can always email us at publisherservices@roll20.net. And we're happy to help folks walk through how to create their publisher account or make their first title as well.
Looks like another question. Yeah. Does DrivethruRPG have marketing tools that can be used, and how do people take advantage of them?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even talk about some of the cool crowdfunding stuff. So I'll touch on that within this conversation. And so, yeah, so we do have some promotion tools. And as I mentioned earlier, they're a little bit different between a publisher account and the community content program stuff. So like with community content programs, you can give out like comp copies. Like if you want to give like a free PDF to a reviewer, you can do that. You can use like marketing sources basically. So if you append your URL with it's like src equals and then like whatever tagging you want after that, and you have to either use a question mark. It's explained on the website. You have to use usually a question mark or an ampersand depending on whether or not an appendix has already been used with a question mark. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Otherwise, I can send some links. But you can put whatever you want there to help you track your marketing resources as well. So like I use that for my stuff, so that way I can see, are people buying this from my mailing list? Are they clicking into this through my Discord server or through Twitter or whatever? You just want to make sure that it's like unique enough that you know that it's yours. Mm-hmm. Kage is pretty uncommon, so I'm always like Kage_Discord or whatever. And then I know when that purchase happens that that's where that came from. And you can also do that too with any DrivethruRPG or anything like that. So the community content programs do have a couple of different resources. The publisher tools have what we call publisher promotion points. And so basically, and kind of going back to the question that Dom had earlier too about the difference between exclusive and non-exclusive, is you do get more publisher promotion points on a monthly basis if you're exclusive as well. Okay. And so you have more opportunity to use some of the marketing tools that utilize these, but you can use them on things like banners. There's banners across the bottom of our page. You can use them. I think it's like you use so many points per like set of clicks. You can do a featured product message. So you'll notice those on like product categories or like on the front page, there's like feature products. And so that's also, I think, based on clicks. And then there's the deal of the day, which is definitely one of the more expensive ones when it comes to the publisher promotion points, but also for 24 hours, your product is featured on the top right of the site. And we usually encourage people to do like kind of steep discounts on it, and people get really good sales off of that. So the other thing with that is it's sort of like a lottery system. So there's no way of knowing when you're going to be pulled up in the queue. Like even I can't tell you who's going to be in it next week or whatever. Like 24 hours before you're selected and we let you know. And then that's then the next day for 24 hours, you're featured on the front page.
Yeah.
But some really cool crowdfunding stuff. So we have a tool called Emailing Your Customers. And so you can only use on-site links for that. So there's a couple other whitelisted things. Like I think you can put like your Twitter account and stuff on there. But for the most part, you're only supposed to use on-site links for that. However, if you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, our team will on your behalf send out up to 2 emails per campaign for you to your customers. And one of the like kind of cool like synergy things that we suggest is if you on your crowdfunding campaign, if you are able to do like a primer or like a quick start guide, what you do is you publish that for free on your DrivethruRPG page. And then on your campaign page, put a link and say, hey, do you want to download a sample of my product or a quick start or a primer guide or whatever you want to call it? Go to this link. And then they go and they purchase this product for free. When they do that, they become one of your customers. So then what you can do is you can have us email on your behalf with the Kickstarter information or whatever crowdfunding campaign you're using or site you're using. And we'll email people who are your customers. So if you already are selling with us, you're going to have a customer base already. So that quick start thing might not be as important to you. But for folks who haven't maybe sold with us yet, that's a way that you can kind of gather customers during your campaign. So that way at the end, we can say like, hey, there's a week left. Have you bought this yet?
Mm.
So we have a whole process on how you can email us about that. So making sure that you have like your link and when you want us to send it out and your subject and your copy that you want us to send to your customers and stuff like that. But that's definitely something that we suggest. If you do have to be fulfilling with us. So even if it's just a digital fulfillment or if it's a print fulfillment, you do have to be fulfilling with us in order for us to let you use that customer base like that. But people will get thousands of emails then sent out that maybe people had noticed that they had a crowdfunding campaign going prior to that.
Okay.
We also have a newsletter that goes out. So if you do have like a big project that you want noted, that's not a guarantee. We can't always get stuff in there, but you can let us know and we can pass it on to our marketing team. If you are on social media and you're posting stuff about it, make sure that you're using like the hashtags and mentioning like DrivethruRPG or DMs Guild or whatever. And that way, if we're able to, we'll try and like retweet some of your stuff as well or reshare it. And then also we have our creator Discord server with a self-promo channel in it. So you're always welcome to post stuff in there. I know people tend to take a look in there sometimes too. And we'll peruse through some of the stuff people have in there.
All right. Another question that came up was, it wasn't totally clear if this was answered. So is there a popularity disparity between print on demand books and digital PDFs? Does one tend to be more popular than the other?
And I think, like I said, it's a little hard to answer because there just are more digital PDFs on our site, but about 10 to 15% of our sales, our total site sales, are print on demand.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely sell a decent amount of print on demand books. You also see a lot of people, one of the features that you can do within that format is you can provide a print on demand and then like add, as a publisher, you get to decide how much you want to add for that PDF. So like if your PDF is $10.99, you can instead say you can get this print copy. And if you do that, then the PDF's only $4.99 or free. So people will do that too, where if you buy the print version, you'll get a discount or the PDF for free. And so then people will sometimes just buy the print because they're like, well, if it's only $5 more and I can get a print copy, why wouldn't I do that? Or whatever the price differentiation might be.
Okay. And then one other question that someone sent in, you mentioned that for print on demand, there are specific file settings that need to be set before the proofs are made. So assuming that's for color spaces, bleed, etc. Does DriveThru offer a paid service to handle that or work with the author, or does that need to be taken care of with a third party person before? Yeah.
We do not have layout designers for hire, unfortunately. So you will have to go through a third party in order to get that set up. I do freelance layout design. So if you need a third party, hit me up. If you are, for example, for the DMs Guild, you are allowed to do print on demand if you meet certain requirements. And we do have, you also have to go through a vetted layout designer. So we do have a list of people for the DMs Guild that you can reach out to.
Okay.
So that might be a helpful resource, but yeah, we don't have the capacity in our team to also do layout design for folks. But what you can do with DrivethruRPG is, so I guess I can kind of talk a little bit about, I know we're kind of running short on time, but I can talk a little bit about just like the process in general for what it looks like. So if you want to create a print on demand product, basically what happens is when you upload the product, it will get sent to our printers and then they do pre-media checks to make sure it aligns with some different specifications. And then if those pre-media checks are cleared, you'll get an email saying, hey, you can order a proof. If they're not, they're going to push that back to you and you're going to have to make some changes based on whatever it is that they say. Mm-hmm. And then you might have to upload again and do all of that. And then you can order your proof and then you have to wait for the printing and the shipping to happen. And then you get your proof. And if that looks good, then you can say, yeah, I'm going to activate this for sale. And if that doesn't look good, then you're going to have to go back to your files and figure that out and then go through the pre-media process and order a new proof and make that happen. One of the services that we do offer is prior to any of that upload into our site, if you're a DrivethruRPG publisher, you can just reach out to your rep, send us your cover and interior PDF files for your print on demand title, and we'll have our in-house print production team take a look at the files, and they'll make sure that your color profile is set up properly, that you have the right bleed and safety and margins, that you're exporting it to the right PDF compliance. I think one of the biggest things that I see is people are like, I got my proof and there's these black boxes around all my transparent images and the colors look really muddy. 9 out of 10 times is because they didn't export it with the right PDFX compliance, and the pre-media process won't stop that necessarily from happening. What it does is it like tries to force it into compliance, and that can cause those issues to happen. So I encourage folks who are unsure whether their files meet specs is that once you get them to a point where you're about to upload, send them to us instead first, and we'll have our production team look at them. And then once we say, yeah, they look good, then you can go ahead and upload them. And that way you don't have to like go back and forth and like go through that process a lot. You'll be working just with us.
And then one last question that came in on the DriveThru Discord. Is there a looking for artists channel to maybe connect with people?
Yeah. So thanks, Dom, for posting that link here in the chat. We do have a looking to hire and a looking for work channel. So if you are a freelance writer or artist and you want to tell people about your works, you can go into that forum and post a little bit about your works and what your rates are and things like that. Likewise, if you're a publisher and you're like, I could really use a cover artist for this, you can go in and say, this is what I'm looking for. This is my budget. DM me or hit me up here in this forum. And there's folks in there that are actively responding to different things.
Awesome. Well, it looks like that's all the questions that we have. Is there anything else that you think we need to know about? Or
I guess I'll just reiterate, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. The Discord server that Dom just posted here in the chat is a really great place to reach us. Even if you aren't yet a publisher or you haven't created anything, we'll give you what we call like the freelance role, which basically just gives you access to some of the basic channels where you can ask questions. Our team is in that Discord and we answer stuff every business day. And there's also a lot of really well-versed publishers and creators in that server who are almost always willing to help. Sometimes I'll like wake up in the morning and people who are across the world and on my time zone are already like answering questions, you know, for people who've asked stuff overnight. But also you can always reach out to your rep. So when you are on like your account page or your publisher page, if you're in like the help tab, emailing your rep, it'll go right to the right person if you click that link. But publisher service at roll20.net, just reach out to us and we're happy to help.
Great. Yeah. And for anybody who's just listening to the audio, it's discord.gg/DrivethruRPG for anybody who wants to jump in on there at some point. All right. Well, I think that about does it for us. So thanks so much for talking. This was a lot of really good information, and hopefully everybody learned something that they didn't already know. I know I definitely did. So
yeah. Thank you all for having me on.